I feel like it's important to point out that I adore the World Cup. We're going to be discussing a lot of things, and it's going to give over an impression that maybe I have a dislike of the World Cup or I don't like what's going on. And it is just like a hater thing when it comes to the World Cup. So I want to kind of stress this, that I adore the World Cup. And it's not just the fact that it's a football tournament. I do love my football. I do a lot of videos when it comes to football. But when it comes to the World Cup, it's more than just a football tournament. It's more than just a tournament to see who are the kings of the world, let's say. And I suppose it's a good thing that that is the case, because as somebody who is English, and I know that there are multiple countries that are behind my origin, let's say. But if it was purely based on the country of my birth, I'd be very, very disappointed in the World Cup. So it's not the fact that it's a football tournament, the reason why I adore the World Cup. It's not even the fact of its rarity, the fact that it happens once every 4 years. There's multiple tournaments that happen once every 4 years, the Olympics, the Paralympics, everything like that, and I love them, but they're not really that special to me compared to the World Cup. And I suppose the reason for this is, unlike most other sports tournaments, when it comes to the World Cup, whether you're talking about the Women's World Cup, the Men's World Cup when it comes to football, or any sort of world championship about a specific sport that is as popular as football and as rare as it happens in football, it's special to see people congregate together, spend time together, to celebrate together, to party together, to have a festival together surrounding football. And not just that, but the cultures behind it. The African tribal fan vibe that you can only get either in a World Cup or an African Cup of Nations, which is so special. The samba spirit of Southern America, of the party going atmosphere. We sometimes look back with rose tinted glasses on at things that happened, for example, in Argentina in the 1980s when it came to the toilet rolls being thrown out. Again, the sort of culture of the Oceania countries, the kind, hospitable nature that you only get really in the Asian countries, such as Japan, South Korea, the respect, the kindness that is there. And then when it comes to European countries, well, you've got things like the German vibrance. Yeah, Germans can be vibrant. And you get also the most iconic, which is the Netherlands fans, the Orange Army. And if you want to get, if you we're fairly new to international football and you don't know about the Orange Army, have a look through for them, and look for the Orange Army with a J, by the way, in orange, called the Left Right song. It's a special song. It's a special dance. I was privileged enough to be part of it for a different reason, and it is a awesome vibe where, like I say, all cultures are embraced. But I'm not feeling it this time. I'm not feeling the same spirit, the same energy when it comes to the World Cup that is literally happening minutes from now. The World Cup that is going to be kicking off in Mexico, USA, Canada. And I'm going to say this, it's not the fact that I don't like those cultures. I don't like those fans. I know I've seen videos, almost mocking the chants, especially from the US. I'm not comfortable with that, if I'm being honest, because I know many people in the US who not only adore their football, but are willing to be educated to become good football fans. Fans that are willing to wake up at 3 a.m. in the morning to watch Premier League matches from the comfort of their own home. It's die-hard atmosphere. And when you've got them, US fans that are appreciating cultures from others, it's special. And ultimately, even though the circumstances behind what I'm about to talk about is sort of political, it's sort of not at the same time. So we're going to do a bit of a deep dive. Look over the past couple of months, the past few months of difficulties, problems, challenges, and especially the ones that have exacerbated over the past couple of weeks. And I'm hoping the algorithms almost keep this up because, well, I suppose because of monetization reasons, but also because, well, ultimately, we can't forget the problems that are going on. And that because of the fact that of how important the World Cup is, that it's more than a football tournament, I want to try and ensure that the things surrounding the football tournament, rather than the actual football tournament itself, is considered. So let's have a look at a couple of the issues, and the reasons why there are problems with what is going on. Now, it starts off with, I'm going to call it the Ticketmaster style gate, which is the ticketing. I don't know if anyone has been under a rock, but ultimately, the demand of the World Cup has been exasperated. And it's been exaggerated to the point where ticket prices are ridiculous. Now, I don't know if it actually talks about the actual prices themselves. A little bit there, right? So, a match between Mexico and South Africa cost $2,000. Okay, that's an opening match. But I've been seeing similar sort of prices for the smaller, the less, less expensive, So, I mean, here's some really, really good examples. Now, we've got Qatar versus Switzerland. Now, Qatar and Switzerland are two of the smallest countries to play against each other. In terms of, the amount of people and everything like that and the interests. And yet, £353, and then the resale. That was when it started. The expense is ridiculous to go to a match. But that's just the match. We've then got the hotel prices, which again has been exacerbated by FIFA. There has been situations where rooms have been cancelled by FIFA, which has basically meant that for a long time we had hotels with demand that was kind of not there, that ended up with expensive hotel prices. Then you've got the parking charges, then you've got the travel charges, which again have been hiked because of the demand. And that, by the way, feels a little bit wrong, because we can sometimes think about, obviously, the football fans are like going, oh, okay, yeah, it's almost like a tourist destination. But these cities aren't tourist destinations. There are people living their day-to-day lives, working day-to-day jobs, who also are going to have to pay for those fares. I hope they've been covered, but again, heightened prices. And here's the thing, mistakes do happen. And we've had a situation where there was an error that allowed 60 fans to purchase World Cup tickets for free. They've obviously got the free tickets, and now FIFA are going, oh yeah, we made the mistake, and now you must pay. I mean, it's not a mistake, but you must pay. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. It's like, Yeah, we're increasing the demand, so it's going to increase the prices. But the second we make a mistake, no, that's not us. That's not on us. You pay for it. But I suppose the ticketing stuff, people can pass that off as capitalism, right? And fair enough. I'm a bit bored talking about that, but sure, cool. But I suppose it's the other thing that's made us feel more uncomfortable. We've obviously got the situation that's going on in Iran. I say situation obviously is huge. And what it's meant is that the Iran national team, only they are allowed to enter, and the way in which it's working is that they have a base in Mexico and all their matches in the USA, and they basically have to go in and out, not really getting a chance to enjoy the sights, to train properly. They're basically playing with one arm tied behind their back. It's horrible. And you know what? When I said the team, we're talking just the players and the coach. We're not talking the staff, catering, or anything like that. And we're certainly not talking about the fans. We've got fans from Iraq, from Ivory Coast, from Senegal, not being allowed to go and watch their team play. Now, we're just looking at this in terms of countries, right? You want to know where the parties are? Yeah, where the awesome cultures are going to be. I was talking about the Africa Cup of Nations. That's Senegal. That's Ghana. That's the Democratic Republic of Congo. That's Algeria. That's Egypt. The Samba Spirit, that's Ecuador. Cape Verde. Cape Verde, their very first World Cup. Get to celebrate that. Oh, no. Haiti, first one. They get to celebrate that. Oh, no, because the fans all being refused. Now, I know we're looking at the stats from October 2024 to September 2025. And I hope the US has maybe softened their feel over it. But as a fan of one of these countries, you really going to take that risk? As a fan of one of these countries, are you going to take the risk of getting into trouble, getting arrested, getting questioned to watch your team play? I know I wouldn't. So whoever is willing to go through that, brave, courageous. I have respect for you. Huge respect. And that, right, was like a problematic situation. And here's the thing, right? The way in which this normally works, to apply for a visa, to apply to go to another country, you have to have a reason to go there. Which, guess what that means? To almost have that evidence of the reason to go there is you almost have to have the bookings ready. I'm going to the World Cup. Well, where's your proof? Well, I've got the ticket right here that I've paid for 200, 250, 300 pounds. Yeah, 300 euros, $300 US, right? And I've got my hotel price and I've got my travel and everything like that rejected. And now I've spent all this money. What on earth do I do? All that effort to have the rejection. It's a horrible experience. And this is the thing, right? The pricing that we were talking about affects everybody. The World Cup, football itself is a working class sport. And the cost is pricing people out. But this This thing we're talking about right here, that's the culture not being embraced. That's the World Cup not doing what the World Cup is meant to be doing, which is enjoying the experiences, enjoying the atmospheres. And that's the fans. We've spoken about the teams and they're making allowances. So, everyone working at the World Cup, they're getting a chance, aren't they? Well, no. Because a Somalian referee, Omar Artan, voted the best African referee in this year. Refereeing the African Champions League final. He's even going to be refereeing a Super Cup. I think it's the UEFA Super Cup as well. And he's not allowed entry. Why? Is the paperwork not in order? Has he committed a crime? No. It's because he's Somalian. That's it. Nothing else. Papers were in order. He'd had the official invite. But he wasn't allowed to go because he's Somalian. All of that is just killing the vibe of the World Cup. Killing the vibe of everything that we are talking about, we look forward to. And I suppose this is a little bit of like to finalise everything, to discuss everything further, is I'm sad at what host nations have done to this special festival, this special party. Because let's be honest, this is not the first time it's happened. I would say the last World Cup where you almost had a guilt-free enjoyment was probably 2014 at Brazil. 2010 in South Africa. By the way, do you remember those times, guys, where the most controversial things in a World Cup was Vuvu Bloody Sailors? When the thing we were talking about was how irritating the World Cup song was, or how frustrating your team was, or how you had to wake up at crazy times to watch it. Those are the worst things we used to talk about when it comes to the World Cup. Since then, Russia, Qatar, the stuff that has gone on in the US. We got Saudi Arabia coming soon as well. It's kind of horrific what's happened. That this enjoyable situation where all cultures can be embraced is being celebrated in places that is not embracing all cultures. And I think that's the reason why I've lost the love that I once had for the World Cup. Because ultimately it's been tainted. And call me naive, when the USA was announced as the host all those years ago, I truly believed that it'd be a bit of respite. I was naive enough to think there'd be a nice break in between Qatar and Saudi Arabia and Russia. And I don't think it's just that my disappointment is worse. I think this experience feels worse. Normally, when it came to the World Cup, it was a case of, are you a football fan? And are you a football fan of a country that is playing at the World Cup? But now there are so many other factors that you have to do just to enjoy the World Cup. It's sad. And I'll say this as well. I'm going to make you a promise. Even if England win the World Cup, you won't catch me celebrating and going, this is the best World Cup ever because my team won it. And like I say, my origins make it more interesting. I have Netherlands blood, German blood, French blood, and Polish blood. So, you know, I could kind of claim victory if Germany, France, or Netherlands were to win it. But yeah, the vibes aren't there. The joy isn't there. It doesn't feel right. And this probably won't go to Gianni Infantino or the politicians in the US, but you need to sort this out. The World Cup, a place meant for joy and open-mindedness and enjoyable stuff, is being done in a country that thinks it's better than everybody else. And no country's better than anybody else. We're all equal people. We're all equal cultures. As the whitest of white English men, I enjoy the cultures of Africa, of South America. In fact, my life wouldn't be the way it was if it weren't for embracing those cultures and enjoying those cultures. And I suppose this is where it's kind of edges from the sport to the political, but when I see countries being treated as if they're lesser, people treated as if they're lesser, that's the thing that taints the World Cup more than anything else. And sadly, we've got that. I apologise to everybody for such a negative video. I'd love to know your thoughts down below. I suppose if you are looking forward to the World Cup, please let me know why you're looking forward to the World Cup, because, you know, maybe you can bring my joy back. Any things you want to talk about in terms of everything surrounding the World Cup, I'd love to know what you guys are going to be talking about. We're probably going to stay away from international football. You know, if there's any big club football stories that happen in the meantime, which there probably isn't because it normally goes on pause, we might release a video. But I suppose until the World Cup ends and club football transfers, all that sort of thing starts, we probably won't do another football video for a while. But if there's anything you want me to do a deep dive into, again, pop a comment down below and I'll have a little bit of a look into it. But anyways, that's everything from me. All that's left for me to say is don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and take care.